Have you heard about Global Poker? Global Poker is the fastest growing card room in the US today, and it's available online at globalpoker.com. Global Poker is a social poker site that offers safe and secure cash-out options by using their unique and patented sweepstakes model. Players can compete in big guaranteed tournaments, jackpot sit-and-goes, or cash games featuring Hold'em, Omaha, and even Crazy Pineapple. Don't wait. Check out Global Poker today.
Poker Stories is an audio series that features casual interviews with some of the game's best players and personalities. Each episode highlights a well-known figure in the poker world and dives deep into their favorite tales, both on and off the feld.
Hello and welcome to Poker Stories, a podcast brought to you by Card Player, the Poker Authority, and hosted by me, Julio Rodriguez. This is episode number 87, featuring my buddy Garry Gates. Now, if you have been around the poker world at all in the last 15 years, you know Garry. Garry has worn many hats in the industry. He moved to Vegas hoping to make it as a poker player, but when that didn't pan out, he shifted his focus to the media side of things, working live tournament coverage for Poker News. He then put in 10 years working for PokerStars with their roster of pros, while traveling from stop to stop on the international circuit. Last summer, however, Garry got to put on his player hat again for his annual shot at poker immortality in the World Series of Poker main event. Garry did have some experience in the tournament, having cashed a few times with a couple of deep runs, but he exceeded all expectations when he made the final table and ultimately finished fourth for a life-changing $3 million payday. Honestly, it could not have happened to a better guy. Garry is consistently mentioned as one of the nicest guys in the poker world. In fact, funny story, Garry is so nice, and I'm sure he won't like me telling this, but we were having a conversation at the Rio a couple years back, and he interrupted his own story to apologize for a fart that I had neither heard nor smelled. That's just the kind of guy Garry is. Quick note, please excuse the couple of minutes we spend up top talking about and speculating about the coronavirus. We recorded this episode nearly 3 weeks ago, if you are hearing this when it comes out, and obviously the world was a lot different then. On that note, I want to thank all of you for continuing to listen to Poker Stories during these uncertain times. Hopefully we can serve as a nice distraction in this new reality. Anyway, that's enough intro. Here is my conversation with Garry Gates. I am here with Garry Gates. Garry, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I have a little bit of a cough and not sure if it's a fever, but
yeah. By the time this comes out, you may be dead.
And you may be as well.
Yeah, thank you for
I might have
giving
just
it to
given
me.
you the coronavirus, but yeah. Otherwise, we're doing very well.
I just got a news alert that they're going to do March Madness with no fans this year. That's kind of crazy.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
I don't know how you... I saw something that LeBron was kind of upset about this and the idea of playing in front of no fans because that's why he plays.
Yeah.
And I also saw, Sunday night, the Democratic debate. Apparently there's going to be no live audience. That's going to be a little bit weird with no clapping and just straight up answers.
I think
no
that'll
reactions.
be better, actually.
Yeah.
less
possible.
Less biased clapping maybe in the audience. But yeah, if you could talk me off this ledge, that'd be great. How are you feeling about the prospects of our civilization? You're building a house. You're obviously planning for the future, so.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's one of those things. It does seem like it's going to get worse before it gets any better. And I think, I guess selfishly early on, I thought, okay, well, this is most likely going to impact the older folks and people with underlying health conditions. But at the same time, now there's a lot of responsibility on everybody to take precautions, not subject yourself in the same physical space as somebody who might be susceptible to this. And so I don't know. I think our lives are going to have to change in a lot of different ways that especially Americans, as stubborn as we are not used to. But
they just canceled the first poker tournament in the States.
I saw that. Donnie Peters has some pretty strong ideas about poker tournaments in general, thinking this is literally just the exact kind of cesspool that in terms of germs
what
and
are you talking
passing
about?
germs.
Those chips are washed every night.
Yeah.
Don't you know that?
Yeah. So I don't know. It's probably, selfishly and short term, it sucks to lose some of those events and, different sporting events that are going to be canceled. We're actually heading to a music festival we were planning to in your neck of the woods in Fort Lauderdale next month. But, I'm guessing there's probably a 90% chance that's going to be canceled too.
What are your thoughts at this point? We should say it's March 11th when we're recording this. What are your thoughts on this point on the series?
Gosh, that's another one. I mean, I saw a recent statement from Seth Polanski that, they don't have any immediate plans to cancel.
Of course.
I feel like
But they also have to get people to book hotel rooms and flights at this.
True.
They're not trying to cause a panic.
The thing is, at this rate as well, hotels are offering discounted rooms, airlines are offering discounted flights. So who knows? I mean, I respect kind of their wait and see approach. I'm sure they'll take action if and when necessary, but it's one of those things. I think for the greater good, it might be the best decision, but in the short term.
All right, but you don't work for WSOP, so turn off your PR brain and actually answer the question. Is it going to go off without a hitch, yes or no?
I mean, look, it's so hard for me to not think with that PR. I've been doing this for too long.
Oh, I got it too.
You have to get a few beers in me before we have a fully open, honest conversation. But I don't know. I think it will definitely have an impact. I don't, if it's not canceled, I definitely think the numbers will take a hit.
Yeah. It's okay. We'll just put an asterisk next to it that year. No big deal.
And look, it could, who knows? I mean, there's just a lot of risk in this for them in moving ahead with it. I'm sure there's a lot of liability issues they might, be considering right now, but let's wait and see. I mean, in a month, I think we'll know a lot more, and that puts us, a couple months out. So we'll wait and see on this one.
All right, I like your approach. Let's talk about Titusville.
Don't jump off a ledge. What are you concerned about?
No, I'm not.
You think the world is about to end? Why?
Would you like me to scare you?
Go for it.
Okay. Well, I read this article. There's basically 900,000 hospital beds in the U.S. At any given time, 600,000 are already full with people who are just chronically sick or stab victims or heart attack people or whatever. So you have 300K beds that are available at any given time. The article I read said that will be full up in 3 days.
That's a problem.
Yeah. So what happens if you get kidney stones and you need it treated, or you need emergency gallbladder surgery or whatever? Now all of a sudden there's no beds for you at the hospital, and now you're a 25-year-old perfectly healthy person with a good chance of survival, and now you can't make it. Yeah. So there's my fear.
I'm not an expert in those areas. However, I would imagine that most hospitals probably reserve, or have a certain group of rooms and
or we'll just do like China did and build them in a week.
Yeah. I saw one of those collapse. Did you see that?
Yeah, it did not turn out like the best story, but
yeah.
That's what happens when you build things in a week.
You're probably right on that, and I do think,
And that's why they're banning fans from events, because the more we spread it out, the more rooms there will be at the hospital for the people who need it. But yeah, that's my fear. Sorry, world, if I turned out to be an alarmist or right on the money. Either way, I'm sorry. Anyway, let's take our mind off that.
Sure.
Let's go to Titusville. What were you doing up in the big city of Titusville?
Titusville, Pennsylvania. Recently or
no? Just
when I lived there.
Yeah, when you were a child.
A long time ago.
Yeah. What were your interests?
Gosh, yeah. So it's a tiny little country town. Back when I grew up, I think there were maybe 4,000 people there.
Oh, you mean really tiny?
Really, really tiny.
Yeah.
However, there are a couple claims to fame. John Heisman of the Heisman Trophy went to our high school.
Mr. Stiffarm.
Mr. Stiffarm. And then there's a woman named Ida Tarbell, who is a civil rights activist, was probably in your history book when you were younger. But and it's the birthplace of the commercial oil industry. 1864 or something like that.
That's when Daniel Plainview stepped onto the field, and you don't get this joke.
No,
there will be blood. It's okay.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So I had a nice childhood. It was a good place to grow up. There's always something going on. They had an oil festival every summer. Yeah. They had a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. They put on the streets, and good schools. Everybody kind of knew everybody, and I enjoyed it. Would I live there today? No, it's I'm a city guy through and through. I've tried to visit a couple of times a year if I can. But yeah, big change from Titusville, Pennsylvania to Las Vegas, Nevada.
What were your interests? I mean, I know you went to Westminster College and you had a few different areas of study, but what did you want to do?
Oh God, back then I had no idea. I thought, maybe lawyer, maybe college professor, something along those lines. I was big into computers back then. I actually started college as a computer science major. It didn't last very long. I took my first C++ class and hated it and transitioned. I think at the time to communications actually. But no, I was into sports. I played sports year round. I was in theater. I had a musical background. I was voted most musical at my Titusville high school.
I also did theater.
Class.
I got a theater scholarship to college, actually.
Nice. Okay.
What did you do? Did any memorable shows?
Yeah, my first was the most memorable by far. I was 12 years old, and I got the lead in Oliver. So
nice.
There's some funny pictures floating around I could share with you,
and some solos.
But, a lot of solos. I was Riff in West Side Story.
Wait, I have to ask about your voice here.
Now, I mean, I sing all the time and at home and in the shower.
She's not even making a face when you said that.
She gets in the zone. Yeah.
How's it singing?
He has an amazing voice.
Really? Look at this.
I'm not going to sing right now. I think most singers.
We're just going to find a clip of it and insert the audio into this.
You could. They're out there somewhere.
I'd do anything for you, dear. Anything for you. Mean everything to me.
I think most singers will tell you that. Ronnie Bardo will tell you this. When you move to Vegas, it just wreaks havoc. It's just the air's so dry. I read a story. I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that Celine Dion in her home, she put like a custom humidifier in every single room just to preserve her voice because it just it doesn't do well for that. So
I remember the first minute I stepped out of the plane at McCarran, the doors opened and that dry heat hit me. And I got a nosebleed for the first time in my life.
Instantly.
Because I'm from Miami, where it's basically a swamp 24/7.
You're swimming when you walk around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You lived there.
Lived there for a couple of years. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I don't sing as much. Definitely not in any kind of official form, but
you'll
singing,
sing
sports, and
to the music.
On the radio. Yeah.
What's your? Well, we do this at the end, but let's do it now.
Oh. Okay.
Your musical interest. What do you normally go to? I know you've been into country in the last few years.
I love everything. The only thing I probably would never listen to is like hardcore, like death metal. Although Steel Panther we had a nice run. When they were here
That's
in town.
That's like 80s hair metal though. That's fun.
Yeah, but then they like branched into doing their own little band of heavy metal. But I don't know. I'd say I definitely listen to country. I like hip hop. I like rock, alternative. Love James Taylor. If you asked me, who's your all-time favorite, probably James Taylor. We just got to see him here in town a couple months back.
Do you have a favorite album?
Gosh, that's a tough one. I don't know that I do. I can tell you my first CD purchase was Dookie. By Green Day. Yeah, I still remember what the label looked like. And
is it the big atomic bomb?
Yeah, it's like green color on the front. Weezer was my first ever cassette tape purchase, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going way back now. But, yeah.
All right, okay. We'll get to more of those fun questions at the end. Little taste. Let's get to the poker because you're at Westminster. And, most people have a story of their roommate was playing online and, you looked over their shoulder or there was a home game in the dorms or something and you got it from your dad.
Yeah.
That's weird.
That bastard.
I know.
It worked out all right. But
look what he did. Led you down this path.
This is kind of this is good. Like my family, they used to take this annual trip to Vegas every year. So this is my grandmother, my aunts, cousins.
Oh, so it wasn't like this foreign mystical place that you'd never been or anything.
No. I mean, we actually
you
jokingly
guys had
called
built-in degeneracy.
We jokingly called Titusville T Vegas. Like that's how.
Okay.
Yeah, as a joke. But so they would go and take these trips and come home with their stories and pictures, and I was infatuated a bit with the culture. Rounders came out, around the same time. Movie, we all love that movie. And then you remember the show with Josh Duhamel, Las Vegas. I think I was loving that show too. And
short-lived show.
yeah. I don't think it went for very long. But my dad, every Thursday night, he played in this Titusville Elks Club game on, in the upstairs attic. And I started, watching him do this, and he'd come home a few $100 and just look like they had a lot of fun. And I remember one weekend I came home from college, and I pulled up a chair next to him. He's at the computer, and he's playing on PokerRoom.com. And I was shocked that he was playing for real money on the internet, and so signed up for my own account.
What year was this?
This must have been probably 2000, I think.
So
Maybe.
Before the poker boom.
Before the poker boom, yeah. He
was an early adopter.
He was. And then I got all the books. I started playing a bunch myself. Mm-hmm. And when I turned 21, I started coming with him to the local Titusville Elks Club game. By the way, that would be some amazing content if there was ever a way to recreate that game. The characters, we had a guy named Loopy, a guy named the banker, the lawyer. They called my dad Goofy. They called me Junior because we had the same name. The butcher. There's just it was a great group of people, excellent characters across the board.
That was what was fun about poker culture back in the early 2000s was you had to have a nickname, right?
Yeah.
It's funny. I was doing the research on you. I get the sense that, like me, especially when you came onto the scene, you liked not just the strategy element of cards, but the entire environment, the world around it, the characters, the people. It seems like you were into that.
I was infatuated with it. You can probably attest to this, having been a Vegas guy for a long time as well. I remember going to the Mirage, and you remember those white rails they had around the tables there, and just the color of the felt, the chips. I loved all the components of live poker, especially. And then, going to my first World Series, and when I turned 21, I flew out to the West Coast with a cousin and one of his friends. We did Vegas, California, Mexico, and I stopped by the World Series around that same time, and I sat at a 2-5 no limit table behind Puggy Pearson and Doyle Brunson, and just being in it,
Was
for the
that
first
06?
time. No, I think this was before
Because 06 was the first Rio.
I think this wasn't at the Rio. This was at Binion's. Yeah. So I think it was either 2002 or 3. I couldn't tell you for sure. But I love the whole thing, man. I love the lights. I love the possibilities that poker tournament. You run well for a few days, and boom, now you've just hit a nice little jackpot. So I've just been a fan of it my whole life. I love reading about it. Just coming to Vegas, you can. I've had a love-hate with the city itself for a few years, but I think I love it now more than ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you're at school. Somehow poker doesn't derail your studying. You still graduate. What did you graduate with?
My grade point average?
No. Show me your diploma,
you were trying
Garry.
to figure out how much it derailed my studies.
No, I mean, what was your degree in?
No, sure. Funny story about that, too.
C's get degrees. You know what I mean?
It's true. I actually got a job as a computer lab manager. I think they were called proctors at the time. So I literally had the keys to every computer lab on campus so that I could go and play online poker with a high-speed internet connection. But I graduated with a degree in English and minor in creative writing. So I kind of, you know the story from there, kind of parlayed that into some work with Poker News, and yeah.
Well, let's get into that story because you didn't come out here to work for a poker media company. You came out to work for yourself as a poker player.
I did. And as a backup plan, I enrolled at UNLV's graduate program, I think mostly just to kind of give my parents something that, just so they could sleep at night.
Yeah, I'm not sleeping in a ditch.
Yeah, exactly. So I was taking classes at UNLV, and I came out here to play professional poker, and the first few years were real bad.
Really?
I actually think the first time my dad flew out here with me and dropped me off at my dorm, last words out of his mouth are, don't rush off to the casino straight away. And that's exactly what I did. As soon as he left, I went straight to the Bellagio, and I think at the time my ATM withdrawal limit was only $500.
Yeah.
And I had maybe $500 with me. I'm not even kidding you. Somehow I blew through $1,000 playing 4-8 limit. I'm not even kidding you. I think I was there for approximately 20 hours, and I played over into the night against this one older guy who just completely wrecked me.
Yeah.
I mean, he's every time I'm opening, raise. He never let his foot off the gas. I'm just folding nonstop. I had no idea what I was doing and was questioning every decision.
You clearly didn't know what you were doing if you lose 1,000 at 4-8.
It was terrible. I didn't even have enough money to go back to the ATM. I couldn't. So I think I walked home from the Bellagio to UNLV's dorm rooms. Yeah.
That's absurd. A brutal start.
It was bad.
Well, what was your game of choice? I'm assuming you weren't degenning a 4-8 limit there the whole time.
No, that's the other thing. So I was definitely guilty of moving up way too fast, and that's probably that night. I'm sure I moved up and played some 2-5 and just lost the rest of it. But but that was my biggest thing, especially online. I would crush the games that I was supposed to be playing, and then have like a good week, move up in limits or play a tournament that was too big. Back Full Tilt used to have pretty monstrous heads up matches.
Yeah.
I was playing the biggest ones, for a really long time and had no bankroll for it. So it was just, I'd run it up and run it back down, and I can't tell you how many times that happened, probably 70 to 100 over, a 12, 15-year period.
So you're at the 06 series. That was my first series. I was working for Card Player. I remember that year was they only had 4 quadrants. It was only the Amazon room, and one of the quadrants was cash, and you're playing cash. And you meet Garry Weis.
Yes.
Magic the Gathering Hall of Famer, Garry Weis. I don't know what that means, but apparently it's a big deal.
He was a big deal in the Magic world. Yeah, he was sitting across the table from me at 2-5. We struck up a conversation, and I found out, he was one of ESPN's feature poker writers at the time. And, I was probably working 2 or 3 jobs back then. I worked at Lucille's Barbecue for a little while. I was doing some substitute teaching. And taking classes at UNLV. And, he mentioned that he was starting up his own website called Wise Hand Poker. And I told him about my, education background and having just finished college with a degree in English. So he had me send him a few samples, and he liked what I put together, and he was paying us nothing at the time. A couple guys as well. Ryan Lucchese came in around the same time as me, and Tom Bostic was another name, and Jennifer Newell, I think she did some work for
Lucchese and Bostic were both interns with me in 06,
at Card Player.
At Card Player. Yeah. And Lucchese kept working for us as a tournament reporter in the years after.
Yep.
But, hey, shout out Ryan, wherever you are in California. But, yeah, I wish we had found you that year. One of the hardest parts about finding poker reporters is there's plenty of people who can write, and there's plenty of people who know cards, but not very many people know both. So you would have been a valuable commodity to us back then. We should have snatched you up before Poker News did.
That's when we met, right around that time, I'm sure.
Right. Well, I didn't meet you that first summer in 06. I did meet you the next summer when you guys got the contract to do the live reporting.
For Poker News, yeah.
And I remember going, who's that well-dressed guy? I may have said overdressed, but out of jealousy. You might
have said asshole.
Out of jealousy, I might have said overdressed. But I meant well dressed because you did always care about your appearance, while the rest of us schlubbed it out there with whatever we threw on the night before. I completely confused you and Donnie Peters a lot that first summer. I don't know if you remember that.
That happened. We both had shaved heads at the time.
Shaved head. Both were dressed.
He dressed up.
Well.
Yeah. I
eventually learned you were the nice one.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. No, we had a good run during, in the Poker News era. That's I think 2007, right, was the first year that Stars Poker News had that contract, and I got pretty lucky. While it would have been great to work with you guys for sure, I met a guy who I consider to be kind of my mentor in the poker world on the business side anyway, and that's John Caldwell, who was the editor-in-chief and one of the co-founders of Poker News, and became real close with him, and he put some trust in me to become the live reporting manager for a few years, and then he actually took a director position with PokerStars.
He took you with him.
Not quite. I ended up staying at Poker News for like a year, but then shortly after that, an opportunity came up with PokerStars, and I ended up working for Jeffrey Haas was the one who brought me over there. And I was the media coordinator for 3 different tours for PokerStars. So it was a nice transition to the operator side.
People have described your job as diva wrangler in the past. I'm wondering if you have any horror stories from the floor. Anytime you stuck your foot in your mouth, or maybe a player and you didn't get along too well. You told a story about Tom Dwan asking for a weird item.
Oh, he used to ask for computer mice so that he could smash them in his younger days of online poker. God.
Excuse me. Let me just get half a dozen mice.
Take 6. Yeah.
I'll take half a dozen mice just in case.
Why do you need 6? You have friends? No, I'm breaking them. Yeah. I don't know. There weren't too many horror stories. I mean, gosh, I don't really. There's one story I want to tell, but I don't know.
Can you tell it with a pseudonym?
Okay, so let's just say, I won't mention who.
Exactly.
Massive celebrity, like massive in the sports world.
Story redacted.
It's brutal.
It was bad. But yeah, I don't know. There've been some good stories, but nothing too.
Any celebrities you got starstruck with? Because you've worked with a lot over the years.
Man. I mean, there was one time we were filming a TV show for PokerStars, and we had a ton of big-name athletes on the show, and one particular day, Barry Sanders was on the show.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the producers of the show came over to me in a panic and was like, yo, we're about to start filming with Barry in 30 minutes. Can you teach him how to play poker? Like, what? You want me to teach Barry Sanders how to play poker right now in 30 minutes?
He had no idea anything?
No. I mean, he'd played, but he didn't know, how to bet and, the sequence of actions and those kinds of things. So quick thinking, I kind of bailed myself out. We had a ton of sponsored pros on site, so I went and grabbed Vanessa Russo and had her do it. But I don't know, there were a few guys. I think after a while you kind of get used to it, and yeah.
Nobody had any beef with Garry Gates?
I'm sure.
I can name 3.
You can name 3 people that have beefs with me?
No,
go ahead.
With me. I'm just saying over the years, you write something they're not happy with, or they feel they were misquoted or taken out of context. People just get beefs, whatever.
That stuff happens, yeah. For sure, I can look back and find you a few examples of that. It's not always pretty. Like, you're out, especially when you're, working as a journalist in poker. I mean, you're out for the live reporters, they're out on the floor, oftentimes 10, 12 hours. They have a notepad. Yeah. The action happens really fast. It's very difficult to count chips. There's so many variables. Yeah. Easy to make a mistake. And I think people can be a little unforgiving sometimes on that front. Shout out to live reporters everywhere who tough it through that job. It's not an easy one.
It's funny, when you were making your main event run, Mike McDonald tweeted that he's not a big believer in karma, but after so many years of putting up with every single high roller diva in poker, that you deserve the $10 million.
I remember that tweet. It was right after I binked that ace, against Robert Heidorn. And now I appreciate it.
Do you feel that way? You feel like the poker world owed you something?
Not at
karmically?
All. Not at all. Not at all. I feel, and I'm going to get soft on you for a minute, but I genuinely feel blessed. I mean, we literally are in Vegas. We've got families. Our livelihood has been enabled by a deck of 52 pieces of paper.
Right? Isn't that crazy?
We've seen the world. I mean, there's not a day that goes by that I'm not grateful for those opportunities in the life that we have. Yeah.
Well, you are no longer with PokerStars.
Correct.
Because you're some hotshot poker player now who's going to play all the high rollers, right?
That was everyone's biggest question. Like, when I made a post. People don't normally make a social media posts when they change jobs, but I feel like I was public facing enough.
By the way, you know what my favorite part of your post was?
Tell me.
That you drove here, that you moved to Vegas in a 99 Honda Accord. Because so did I.
Did you really?
That car got me through. It was navy blue. Okay. Had a spoiler on the back.
Mine was
refused to die. I tried to get it to die for years, but
they're good cars, man.
They just don't.
Yeah. Mine was silver, no spoiler. Yeah. I'm not a spoiler guy. But
I didn't put it on.
You look like a spoiler guy.
I'm not a fancy guy. It was in the lot. It was used.
Oh, that's good.
My Honda Fit begs to differ now. But
that's awesome.
So you've decided. We'll get to the World Series, but Gigwise, you have a new one now.
Oh, yes. So people were, I think everyone assumed that I was just going to become a professional poker player, but I learned a long time ago that it's not for me. Those guys that do it and do it well, I have all the respect in the world for them.
But you remember the 4-8 game.
Yeah, exactly that.
If you can't beat that guy,
I think for me, I'm just speaking to my own experience. I feel like I just play better when, I'm able to use the tools, which are the chips, in a way that I'm not thinking about it like, oh, I might lose a Kia if I get this decision wrong, or when I'm able to separate myself from the monetary aspect of it all, I play a lot better, a lot less fearful. So
it's weird for people like us because, we didn't have a lot of money, but we see it everywhere in this industry. Mm-hmm. So we've become desensitized to it in that way. But yeah, it is still hard to pull the trigger on a bet for your mortgage payment. Yeah, you know what I mean. And I feel like some people just have that in them. Yeah, where it doesn't bother them to risk that amount of money.
Yeah, or, a certain line is like the appropriate line to take in a given hand, but you also know if you're wrong, it could have consequences when you have that added pressure of everything else. So for me, the minute that I was able to find sustainable work in the industry and just play as a hobby, everything changed. I feel like it just became a much, much better player. So definitely no plans to play professionally. I'll still play tournaments if the World Series happens this summer. I will play the main event and a few other things.
Go back and defend that 4th place finish.
Yeah. But no, I did accept a new gig just this week, actually, with DraftKings.
Okay.
So I'll be joining the team. My start
Daily
date.
fantasy sports.
Yeah. Same general industry, just different mediums. And
a lot of crossover.
For sure.
A lot of crossover in the player pool as well.
No doubt. We start there, and in 10 days, the nice thing is I'll get to work remote from Vegas, so I won't be moving to Boston, but I couldn't be more excited. The office, by the way, I don't know if you've ever been over there. I got a chance to visit, and it's just incredible. There's a barber shop literally in the office. You can go and schedule a haircut and get a shave if you want. There's a beer cooler. It's just crazy, crazy awesome place.
It does sound like a fun work environment.
Yeah.
Ours has just got a poker table, but hey, that's pretty good.
You guys have a really nice office here. Don't sell yourself short.
Don't tell people where it is. We don't want any visitors. You stay in your homes.
Your secret is safe for now.
Okay, well, let's talk about the main event because that's crazy. I feel like for media guys, I mean, I guess you're a media guy even when you were at PokerStars. You tell yourself, if I was in that spot, or week after week, you're seeing these yokels who you're better than make final tables just by sheer dumb luck, and you're like, if I was in that spot, I'd do X or Y. Maybe one day I'll. What were you thinking during this time? Were you like that?
Gosh,
were you a daydreamer?
I mean, so before I played my first ever main event, 100%. I mean, there's a picture of. Do you remember Chris Hannell? He worked in the poker media for a very short while.
I remember a lot of Chris's, but I don't remember last names.
Back when you and I first started, but we were sitting next to each other doing final table coverage, and I want to say either 2007 or 2008. And during one of the breaks, I snuck a fanboy picture behind the chip leader's chips at the final table. Yeah. And that picture resurfaced when, I made this run. He posted it on Twitter. It's out there somewhere. But yeah, I think just having that, when you're right there and you can actually sit at the table, see the chips, see the experience, see the banners on the wall, the prestige that comes with winning this particular tournament. Yeah, it's hard to, of course you dream about it. And to get, the first opportunity to play, I think I can't remember the first specific year I played, but I sold, half the action, and I was playing for a very small percentage of myself and got slaughtered the first year. I had no idea what I was doing. I made it to day 2, but,
you went too fast?
That. Yeah, there was
that seems to be everyone's first year problem at the main event is
100%.
No one has ever played a tournament with 2-hour levels.
Yep.
And against competition in those early levels that are so bad.
I lost 80% of my stack with the second nuts, like level 2. Yeah. And you just don't need to do that. And I had no idea at the time. And I remember bumping into Lex Veldhouse in the hallway, and I went through the hand with him, and he gave me that very important lesson. He's like, this tournament has so much play. Yeah. He's like, your river raise here is never correct. Like, you don't need to do that. And so I kind of hung on to that lesson, and every year, fortunately, knock on wood, I've not ever busted before day 2. I've always advanced, but not to say that's like a crazy accomplishment or anything.
Well, now you can buy in on day 2.
Yeah, exactly. But
yeah,
no,
you've cashed 4 times now.
You just get valuable experience just by playing the tournament, you know, and you learn how to approach the days. I mean, it's literally, you know, you just siphon it on down. It's like one day at a time, one level at a time, one table at a time, and literally one hand at a time. And that's all you can really do. You don't worry about the noise around you. It's just the 8 other people at your table. And so for me, yeah, to answer, I guess, your original question, for sure it's something I kind of dreamed about and, you know, thought how amazing would that be if I could get there someday. I think I had a cousin and one of my best friends from home tell me, like, you used to tell us, you know, 2001 that you were going to make this final table someday, and we all thought you were batshit crazy. And so you kind of have to visualize it and see it, and, you know, it's just you're right. It's just absolutely bananas that we made it work. So
yeah. You cashed 173rd, 247th, 898th before. Are any of those disappointing runs, or you're just like, oh, this was I had it, or, you know? Yeah,
probably the closest. Maybe you probably have these numbers in front of you. Maybe it was 2000. My first big run when I made
2011.
Yeah, because I made it to day 5, and you literally, for the first time, as the tournament field gets smaller and smaller, they physically take the tables out of the room, and you see the space around you shrinking, and it's just very real at that point. You know, you're looking at the board, and there's less than 200 players in the event, and you're like, you know, I could do this. Like, I've won tournaments with this many players before. So it just becomes a little bit more real the closer you get. And, you know, I definitely made some significant mistakes that year too, but, and just probably played a little too tight, you know, and towards the end as I was trying to, you know, squeak my way through to day 6. But
you bust, and the feeling is, okay, I can do this, but this was my shot. Am I ever going to get here again? Or what are you thinking? Like, next year I could do it again? Or
I think any poker player will tell you this. While there's definitely an element of disappointment and sadness because it is the best tournament of the year, you just are gung-ho and ready to – you wish the next one started tomorrow, basically. And so for me, I just kind of – you know, after I had that first taste of the main event and playing it, I you know, wanted to commit to playing it every year if I could. I think I missed 2 years out of the last 9, but for work obligations and other things. But you know, you wanna best your other previous finishes. And so that's, you know, now it's going to be difficult to do that, but yeah, we'll give it a shot.
Yeah, always possible.
Mark Newhouse tied his best feat, so we'll see. Yeah, I'll take 4th place twice in a row. Why not?
I mean, like, here's the thing. 4th place is a lot better than 9th.
Yeah.
9th doesn't get any additional money after a layoff. So, yeah, that was pretty brutal for Mark.
That would have been tough. I couldn't imagine being in his shoes like, okay, we did this again. And then you're thinking like.
And my favorite tweet that he put out a tweet the day before day 1. He's like, I'm not fucking finishing 9th again.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
I should make the same tweet.
Yeah. I'm not fucking finishing
4th again. Yeah.
Do it. What's another $3 million? Jason Mercier bought your action, and that's interesting to me because you have to be one of his most successful horses at this point.
I think I asked him. Let's be honest. My competition is Alan Berry. No. Sorry, Alan. Alan will never listen to this. But
isn't he a chef now?
Yeah, he's doing really well. Hudson Table's doing well, and he's just getting angry on Twitter all the time. But
he was always angry.
He's living a good life. But no, I think I asked Jason. I think I have to be one of your, you know, your top performing horses at this point, and I think it's by a mile. Yeah. So
that's shout out to Jason Mercier down in South Florida. Do you remember your starting table, or did you have any notable pros during your run early on? Or a better question: how do pros treat you as a poker player? Are you like oh, look how cute, he's trying it? You know what I mean? Is it like that?
That's a really good question. No one's asked me that.
Because when poker players see me, they either don't remember me as the media guy, but they recognize me. So they're like, "How many chips you got?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "I'm not playing a tournament. I'm covering it. You know this. It's been 10 years."
I think there's 2 schools of thought. I think a lot of pros take, you know, this approach where they assume you're a fish until you prove them otherwise. Mm-hmm. Then there's another group of players that give you the benefit of the doubt until then you prove them wrong in the inverse. So I don't know. I think the one thing for me that's always been weird, especially at the World Series, is when I'm just playing with average Joes, and then a famous poker player comes over and introduces or says hello and treats me like, we're old friends, and then they think the rest of the table thinks I'm a big deal all of a sudden, which is kind of hilarious.
JRB?
I'm not. but yeah, that kind of gives you some table cred, and in those situations. But look, I think
I never tell people what I do for a living at the table.
That's tough. In the industry, it's tough because then they ask
they get a billion questions, but they also think I'm better than I am.
Yeah.
Oh, you edit Card Player Magazine? You must be amazing. Exactly. No, I edit Card Player Magazine because I'm not amazing.
What do you tell them you do for a living?
I don't answer that question.
You just don't answer.
I say I play poker.
That's what you tell them.
Yeah.
So then they're going to still think you're good.
No.
You need to come up with
anybody who says they play poker and they're at a 1-3 table is not good.
Hey, don't knock the 1-3s and the 1-2s.
We all start somewhere.
Exactly.
Some of us finish there too.
Exactly. we need to get you a creative answer to that question now. I think I don't know. Let's think about it. You part-time as a showgirl or show guy. You're
I'll be a showgirl too.
You're a trailblazer. Yeah.
All right. What struck me, because I don't remember any of the hands played. I'm sure you think about them hourly. But what struck me watching the final table live and the broadcast was how goddamn confident you were. I did not sense. I mean, I would have had a puke bucket next to me. Between every decision, bluffing or not. And you were playing like rock solid. I saw no nerves whatsoever. Am I wrong?
No, I think you nailed it. So some context on that. Like I almost wasn't going to play the main event this year. Marissa and I we're now building a house now that we can. But prior to this summer, finances weren't great. I had some pressure that I was putting on myself to get a ring and, buy a house and do all these things. And
those Jared purchases are not cheap.
How'd you know we went to Jared?
They always go to Jared.
Just kidding. We didn't.
They went to Jared.
So I think I played 2 events before the main and went deep in both, actually. It was the Monster Stack and the Mini Main. Kind of got my confidence going a little bit. And, I was talking to Jay, and we decided to pull the trigger on the main. And I think it was after day 6 when I hit that ace on the river against Robert and kind of propelled myself to a big stack. After that, the rest of the tournament felt like a free roll in a weird way. I was 30% to be out at that point. And I think I said in an interview right after that was like a $2.7 million card, if you think about it, because if it doesn't happen that way, I'm out. And so, when I would walk out of the Rio every day with Marissa and we would, just kind of like be in the moment and think about the gravity of it all. And like, look, we're on day 7 now of the main event and we're already winning this amount. This is life-changing for us. Everything from here on is a bonus, and so I kind of made this commitment to myself that I was going to soak everything in. Literally, I tried so hard to make eye contact with my friends that came out to watch and just really appreciate, what I was living through. And it also helped too, having guys like you and, Mickey Doft and Donnie, all my friends in the media as well. Just, it felt like you guys were living vicariously for a little while. And, everyone was so enthusiastic and supportive. And, I wanted to do everyone proud. And so hopefully, there were a few things I did on the last day that were maybe a little ambitious, but I wanted to go down swinging and, just play to win the thing. That's what I was there for. And who knows? I mean, I'm a Dolphins fan. Dan Marino had one shot I'm no Dan Marino, but he had one shot at the Super Bowl and didn't get there.
His second year, I think.
Didn't make it and never went back after that. So you don't, mathematically, I probably won't make the final table again. So I just wanted to make the most of that experience. And so that's probably where you saw me being a little at ease.
Well, even busting out, you had an emotional interview and stuff, but they asked you, or I think it was Howard asked you, like, are you disappointed, or how you feeling? And you basically said, I'm a millionaire, dumbass.
His question was, he said, I said my life has changed now forever, and he said, how has your life changed? And I said, well, the obvious answer is, I have some money now, so it's going to change everything.
That's what I'm saying, like. A lot of poker. You don't see it often with poker players, honestly. There's a lot of fourth place finishers there in that spot who are only thinking about the $7 million that they left on the table.
Yeah. Look, I'd be lying to you if I said there weren't days where I look back and wonder what if maybe I did this differently, that differently. But that's a zero-sum game. You can't get involved in that. And I'm just grateful for the experience. I had a guy that I know down in Aruba. He works for Casino Aruba and called me up to talk a little business. And he said, I had a note to call you, but your World Series rerun was playing here in the casino. So I just, I'm just to think about
That's
that.
cool.
It's just crazy, It's something I'll always have and be able to look back on with fond memories.
Mike Matusow criticized your coaching situation for the final table. What was that about?
Yeah,
because you didn't get coaching, right?
I didn't at all. And look, I had access to the best minds. I mean, Jason Mercier himself, I could call him up anytime I want.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's his money on the line too, so I'm sure he would have been happy to help.
Yeah, I try not to take Mike Matusow criticisms to heart, as difficult as that may seem. But it's one of those things. Jay and I talked about it, and we had a rhythm going. And he knows that if we try to dive into some complex strategy implementation at any point, it would be a terrible idea to try to implement that, overnight or when your adrenaline's going crazy and, anything to sort of unrest my comfort level or confidence would have been a bigger mistake than getting coaching on, how to play ace-10 versus Hossein. Or there were little things that, happened organically. Like I remember losing a ton of pots with small pairs and just chasing sets and just being overly aggressive with them. And out of nowhere, Jason Somerville texted me like the following morning and said, "Hey, I've been watching all the broadcasts. Just a side thing I picked up. You might want to stop, calling raises with small pairs and blah, blah, blah." And I was like, wow, this is the perfect bit of advice at the perfect time for me. So I used that instantly. And Jason, there would be a couple times when I'd say like, "Hey, what do you think about this or that?" But he stayed very much hands off and let me do my thing. And I think it ended up working out well for us. So,
perfect.
Yeah.
Any crazy purchases yet? I mean, obviously Jason got a little bit of that $3 million, but
a lot bit more than me.
But did you splurge on anything crazy?
Yeah, we're building a house.
You're building a house.
That's the big. And
weddings are expensive.
We got the wedding. We got the house. I was able to help some people in my life that it was that meant a lot to me. And so, my dad, we moved him out to Vegas, so he just left Titusville. Been there for his whole life, and he's here in Vegas now.
How's he doing?
He is good. He's transitioning. He just got a new job himself too long ago, but he had a nasty fall that's 4 or 5 years ago.
I wonder if his health was back.
Yeah, he for most of the people probably don't know this, but he broke almost every bone from his neck to his hips, falling through the roof of a building, and was on life support for 8 or 9 days. And funny story about that, actually. This is I think now 5 years ago. He's at the hospital. I'm home in Erie, Pennsylvania. And the doctor, his trauma doctor, has been kind of taking care of him throughout the week, was a guy that I went to kindergarten, grade school, all the way through. That's cool. Went to an Ivy League school, so I knew he was a smart
He didn't go to
guy.
Titusville Medical School?
No. No. But so on the last day when they were able to remove the breathing tube that my dad had in, and Greg, the doctor, assured me that he was going to be okay, I made arrangements to book my flight back to Vegas. So I stayed in the hospital room until the last minute possible. And my dad was in the process of getting his adult diaper changed because he couldn't go to the bathroom for himself.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So the nurse is cleaning him up. He is
Good timing.
Terrible timing. I'm trying to give him a hug and say goodbye, and he barely can recognize that it's me. But he squints his eyes. He makes eye contact with me. I tell him I'm leaving. He puts his hand on my cheek, looks me dead in the eye, and says, "Son, go win the World Series of Poker."
Oh, that's cool.
Literally what he said. And that summer, because it was right around that same time, I think it was May, I did run deep. I think I finished 5th that year, so it would have been nice to to do that then, but it was extra special for my dad, just being a part of that experience and him being the one that got me into to poker and being kind of the rock for our family.
That's still so crazy to have a parent that got you into poker. I mean,
it's nuts.
Literally, I guess Todd Brunson might be the other example.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. He's always been, I've had crazy ideas my whole life, and he's always been very supportive. So,
all right. You ready for some rapid fire questions?
Let's do it.
All right. Okay, we're good in time. Weirdest place you've ever played poker for money?
Whoa. I guess the computer lab of my school. I'm supposed to be in the office working, and I almost qualified for a party poker cruise in there one time. Mm-hmm. So this little tiny office in my.
What about just exotic trips with Poker News, PokerStars, all your gigs? Yeah, what was your favorite destination?
There's a ton of those. I haven't been out to play. We're always working at these things. But favorite destination is hands down Australia. I've been there 15 times, I think, and it's just, if you could cut and paste Australia somewhere in between the U.S. and Europe, I'd probably move there. It's a great country, great food, great people, great weather, the whole deal. I love it there.
Australia gets your vote.
Yeah.
Any place you didn't get to go to that's still on your bucket list?
Japan is number one on that list. I know that they just started running some poker tournaments there, but that's probably number one. And then I think Sweden. I want to get up to.
Okay.
Yeah, I got some friends in Sweden. They've been asking us to get up there for a long time.
All right. Who's the best player we've never heard of?
Wow.
Shout out somebody who doesn't get the credit.
Best player you've never heard of.
And keep in mind, I've heard of him. You've heard of him. But the average listener maybe not know.
Yeah, that's a really good question. You probably know him. Do you know Nitus Udorpum?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would never have pronounced it that way.
I don't know if I got it right or not, but I met this kid through the Moneymaker Tour, actually. He won one of the stops and got to go and play the PSBC. I don't even think he's under the radar probably at all, but I think maybe most of your users probably don't know him. But, great player. I actually sat with him on day 2 of the main event this year. And he asked me if I wanted to swap. And because of my arrangement with Jason, I had said no to all the swaps. But I said, how about this? If we both make the money, we'll have a live 1%. So nice. He said, deal. So we go on. I get to day 7, and I forget all about this swap. And I text him frantically. I'm looking through the chip count page and the payout page to see his name. That's an expensive 1% at this point.
Yeah.
And he texts me back. He says, "LOL, don't sweat it. I didn't make the money. You're off the hook." And so. But
that's cool.
Let's give him a shout out. We'll say
Nitus.
I think it's Nitus.
Udornpim.
Yeah.
He actually won WPT Maryland.
Yeah. I think he's from that area. Plays a lot over there.
Says he's from Arkansas. Shout out to Nitus. Maybe one day I'll have him on the podcast.
There you go.
What was your worst job before poker?
Worst job before poker. That's a good one.
Never flipped burgers?
I did. I worked at Payway once for a brief moment. That wasn't very fun at all.
Payway is the Chinese restaurant?
Yeah, it's like fast food P.F. Chang's pretty much. That was pretty awful. I worked in an underground.
What was so bad about that?
I just didn't. I just moved here, and I think what was so bad about it is my idiocy in setting up this job. I lived in deep Henderson at Tuscany Golf Course.
Oh, are you talking about the one in Summerlin?
Yes, and I worked at that Payway, and I was making just barely above minimum wage, so the job was probably break even just with gas, and it was really bad.
Vegas is not a big city. Commute-wise. But that's as far as it gets.
I did it because the guy who managed the Payway was our roommate. So I would commute every once in a while. But I was young and dumb and would never do that again. But I did work in an underground mine once, which was interesting. It was a U.S. federal government job, literally underground in this tiny town in Boyers, Pennsylvania.
Just clearing rocks, or?
No, so it was the U.S. Office of Personnel Management, and OPM, and they're like the government's human resources branch. So if you were applying to be an astronaut or, a mailman, your background check would make its way to us. We would open up a case, and I literally was the guy writing letters to people saying like why they weren't suitable for this job or that job based on.
And why did you work in a mine?
That's where it was. It's like this. It's like you need like a high government clearance to do this job. My brother actually works there now, but yeah, it's like deep underground in this.
Oh, for security reasons.
For security reasons.
Okay.
There's like
I'm picturing like a mine shaft. You had to go down like an Indiana Jones trolley, and
it's kind of like that though. You walk around this huge parking lot. There's a giant iron door. And you get in a golf cart, and it takes you down into the mine to your office.
That's cool.
Yeah. I got to see a bunker where they would bring the president and the vice president if something ever went down. It's over there. So probably not supposed to reveal that, but shit.
There's bunkers everywhere. I'm sure they're 30 minutes from a bunker at any given time.
Yeah.
Okay, so poker doesn't happen. Let's say poker wasn't even in existence. What would you be doing right now, you think?
Probably I'd be a lawyer. I think those close to me know how argumentative I can be, and I like to debate and be right. And I think I probably made a decent trial lawyer. But in a perfect world, I would love to have done something in music. I think it's just I love everything about it.
Get
in the
that
industry.
singing going. You sure you won't hit us with a little sample?
I can't.
Little something?
I've got coronavirus. Remember, my throat is.
Give it to the microphone.
I can't.
Okay, what was your largest non-poker wager?
Ooh, largest non-poker wager. That's a good one.
Did you ever get into any crazy side bets with players that you couldn't afford, but they were just too good of spots to add up to pass up?
Yeah, except I was the spot. So
I remember being on the circuit and poker players just being such degens. They'd be throwing $100 bets at you all the time. And I'm like working for that amount every day, and I'm like, but it's such a good spot.
I got nothing that really compares to that. I made probably the dumbest bet I made was with Donnie Peters actually it was just for 2K, and it was during a year. You'll laugh at this. It was a year that the Dolphins started 3-0 and the Patriots were 0-3, and I'm convinced that this is the year the dynasty is ended and the Dolphins are blah 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 blah. So Donnie's like, all right, well, let's bet 2K over the next 10 years, most division titles. I'm like, oh, this is a lock. Book it. And so we booked it, and he clean swept the first 5 years and let me buy out for like $1,500 or something.
That's fun.
Really dumb. Really dumb. It was a prideful one.
Damn Dolphins.
Yeah, exactly. Are you still a fan?
If I had to pick my team, it unfortunately would be the Dolphins.
Yeah.
I grew up in Miami, and Marino was a god to me, despite that one time I met him and he was a dick. But I'm just not a football guy anymore. I've just backed
Golden
off
Knights?
from. No,
what are you into?
I'm all about NBA these days.
Yeah.
I never got on the Golden Knights train, although I do respect it all over town.
Yeah. The NBA product is A+ right now. It's really good.
It's so good. And it's international in a way that people don't realize, Obviously, soccer is still God in Europe, but they like the NBA over there too. So it could become the sport one day. I try to tell people once CTE gets everything else banned.
Yeah, it's true. It's trending in the upward direction for sure. Yeah.
What is a talent you don't have that you wish you did?
Oh wow. Something I wish I had that I don't. That's not a talent. Is hair on my head. That would be strong. Oh hey, you're looking good.
I just know this is like a week after shaving it down to nothing because
Yeah.
I'm trying to get that to be a look, but it's terrifying women and children. So,
I don't know if you'd call this a talent, but I'm very envious of people who just are able to not sweat the small stuff and just like be completely even keel, mellow, let things roll off their shoulders. I tend to
Do you have an example in your mind? Someone like that?
Oompa, Mike Zimba. He's a good.
Oh my God.
He's like the most laid back, nice guy you'll ever meet in your life.
Yeah.
That's a guy. There's my poker player answer. Who's the guy that no one knows of?
Mike Zimba.
He's a very, very talented guy.
He was a Supernova Elite
Yeah.
online for years before he moved to Vegas, and then I think was one of the top players on WSOP.com.
He still is. He crushes over there right now. Yeah, he's doing well. But yeah, he's a guy, personalities like that. I'm just jealous like this. And I'm sure they have their own sources of stress and things, but man, yeah.
He was telling me about his company and still laid back.
Yeah.
Like he was just like, yeah, whatever, if it works, it works.
It's a great company idea. Yeah.
Headphones on at the table, yes or no?
Sometimes. I think sometimes in the earliest stages, like day one, first couple levels when I'm just trying to set the tone and calm down and, take it easy, I'll put them on. But 80% of the time, no headphones. I like to hear what's going on. People give up information. That kind of stuff matters. So, yeah.
Favorite movie?
My brother asked me this the other day. I don't know. I feel like I have to say Rounders just because it's the only movie I can think of that I've watched it over. Don't shake your head. It's true.
It's not
I've
even
watched
that
it
good
like
of a movie.
it really is. It really is. I mean, it's a movie that means a lot.
I know that's
to
sacrilegious
a lot of
coming
us.
from a poker guy, but
No, I know it's a cliche answer, but it's probably true. I mean, I love Good Will Hunting.
Just a Matt Damon fan.
I saw maybe I saw a movie the other day that I don't know if it vaulted to the top for me, but it was really good. Peanut Butter Falcon.
Randy
Randy
Ojo was on this podcast praising that movie.
Yeah.
Sorry, Randy, still haven't seen it.
I feel like that's a top 10 for me now. But yeah.
All right. Do you have a celebrity doppelganger, or growing up did people tell you used to look like somebody?
There's two that jump out. The one that I think looks the most like me is WWE wrestler Cesaro.
Hold on, spell that.
Cesaro. And if you're listening to this, Google it right now and pull up a picture, compare it to my bald face.
Claudio Castagnoli is a Swiss professional wrestler currently signed to WWE. You know what? I see it.
It's remarkably similar, minus the physique. But
no, same pecs.
The face. The face and the hairline and everything. The other guy I get every once in a while is Justin Verlander. He's another one.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Because I know what Verlander looks like, but maybe without a hat.
And my fiance says Ryan Gosling, Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, that's so nice that you lie to him like that.
But yeah, Cesaro is the one.
Yeah, I could see a mixture of Cesaro and Verlander, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, the noses are pretty dead on for both, too.
You're not going to Google Ryan Gosling?
No, I think I know what he looks like.
You have enough information to know? Okay.
I know what he looks like. We don't need to confirm that one. All right, we end the podcast the same way every time with a question from the random question generator.
Oh.
Are you ready?
I'm so ready. I didn't know this existed. Okay.
Well, you don't listen to my podcast then.
I just listened to the first 20 minutes.
No one gets to the end.
Yeah.
You guys who don't get to the end are
missing
missing
this in the beginning.
gold.
Start with a random
We start
question.
the podcast every time with a question from the random question generator.
Yeah.
I don't know if that works.
It could.
All right, you ready?
Sure, let's go.
If you had to eat just one thing for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
Too easy. It's pizza. I mean,
you're gonna have pizza,
now,
breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah,
you're gonna liquefy pizza and have that as like a post-workout shake.
Are we concerned about health? Like,
yes.
Oh man.
You have to choose strategically here.
Gosh, in that case.
I mean, if you choose pizza for the rest of your life, you're not gonna have a long life.
I'll die. Yeah. Well, what's the most sustainable food? I don't know. Probably some kind of nuts. Like, I don't know. I have no idea.
That sounds terrible.
You don't want to eat salad the rest of your life. I mean, I guess chicken, but that's not sustainable. I don't know. Let's go with...
The world runs out of chickens and you just die.
I'll do nuts and berries and nuts. Why not? Why not?
That's two, but I'll give it to you. You want to do a different question instead?
Sure.
All right.
This is cool. Where do you get the random question generator?
It's just a bunch of websites I click on.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to hear this question.
Oh.
I mean, have you ever shot a gun?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't bother me.
Okay.
You can ask that question. I got a good answer, actually.
What?
That question.
Have you ever shot a gun?
Yeah, I have actually. So in Titusville, Pennsylvania, another fun fact: when you're 12 years old, they send you to a camp called Wesley Woods, and any sixth grader goes there, boys and girls. You learn all these outdoorsy skills, including shooting guns, bow and arrow. So 12 years old, they literally put a gun in our hands and send us out there. We actually got 2 days of school off officially per year to hunt for buck and doe because it's huge problem for the traffic population. But yeah.
What?
Yeah.
They just send out the citizens like go kill the people on the road. Go kill the deer on the road.
It's true. My there was one winter where both my parents hit a deer with each of their cars within like a week of each other. So it's actually a problem, especially if you live out, in the woods somewhere. But yeah, they don't mess around in Pennsylvania with that stuff. 12 years old, here's your gun.
We didn't have deer in Florida to worry about.
Yeah.
Hit a few manatees every once in a while.
You see manatees on the road?
Yeah, just always. Just blocking traffic.
Just hanging out.
Gary, thank you so much for coming in and doing the podcast.
It's been fun, man.
And good luck at the new gig.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to getting started. Yeah.
And good luck besting your spot last year in the World Series.
Keep an eye out for my 4th place tweet coming up.
not fucking happening, Mr. Newhouse. Thank you, Garry.
Good stuff.
That's it. That is the show. Thank you once again to GG for coming on and sharing the stories. You can check out what Garry's doing over at DraftKings, which admittedly isn't very much right now with the shutdown of the entire sporting world. But hey, that can't last forever, right? In fact, DraftKings is still running right now with esports like League of Legends and Counter-Strike Global Offensive. You can follow Garry on Twitter at Garry Gates. That's Garry with 2 R's. And you can follow us on Twitter at CardPlayerMedia or at Poker_Stories. If you like what you heard, please subscribe, leave a 5-star rating and a nice review, and let us know about it with an email to PokerStories@cardplayer.com, and we'll give you a free digital subscription to the magazine. In fact, speaking of the magazine, every issue that comes out during the casino shutdown will be available in its entirety for free on cardplayer.com. So go check that out right now. Until next time, thanks for listening.